Boys.
What's going on?
Dude, it's been so I left Chicago Monday night. Friday, like this week just was a blur. It's been interesting. A lot of news. I felt like this week was a good news week overall. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I think I'm gonna start pulling up some feed here. I retweeted a couple tweets from Ryan Peterson this week, which I thought were pretty newsworthy. There was also Mother Trucker, who we hung out with last week with his FMCSA video. I'm not sure if you guys saw that or not. That was a pretty good video. Let me just start pulling some stuff up here. But overall, I think it was a pretty heavy news week. Here, let's hop into. Hold up. All right. 1 second. So, 1 second here, guys. I'm gonna play around with this. Dude, the 8 a.m. start here is always like it's tough for me to get everything going just because the newsletter goes out and I'm
1
like
minute before we join.
What's up?
1 minute before we join is when the newsletter.
Literally,
you're the one who schedules this time.
I know. We might have to start pushing it back, but all right, let's go. I'm gonna hop into Twitter real quick. First of all, we had the Gong demo show last week, but look at that, 31,000 views on Twitter of Reed giving the Gong demo. Demo is pretty cool. So I'm gonna pull up here. Okay, I thought this was pretty interesting from Ryan Peterson about air freight spot. I know we don't talk a lot about air freight, but I do think it's kind of newsworthy because overall, obviously,
did that volcano erupt yet or no?
It hasn't erupted, and what's crazy about the eruption in Iceland is like that they're foreseeing a repeat of like 2010 when transatlantic flights like ceased for like 3 months or 2 months because of like all the volcanic ash. So there's a possibility that flights between North America and Europe might stop for like a couple months because of this volcano.
That's
Wait, like what the fuck?
Wait,
I mean, I understand why that would be the
Between where again?
Between North America and Europe. It happened in 2010. And it might have a repeat. And I was actually asking ChatGPT why like they don't just like fly around it. And it's because like the volcanic ash spreads so far that it disrupts all that travel. And so I know like in 2010 it happened, and like even like back then when President Barack Obama was in office, like he wasn't able to fly. Like his flight was canceled, I think, to Europe, or his travel was just canceled. So, and I was literally asking ChatGPT like an hour or two ago about it. I was like, well, why can't they just like fly like, I don't know, south? But it's like, it seems like it just spreads so far that it's like, it really disrupts it.
Go a long way. Just fly over Asia.
Yeah, if I have to fly to America, I might just have to fly through Asia. But so that was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty interesting. So air freight spots have shot up in the past couple of days due to snowstorm in Anchorage over the weekend, a volcano eruption that's disrupting flight patterns, surging Asian e-commerce volumes, and new smartphone launches. Never a dull day in global logistics. Overall, never a dull day in logistics.
I listened to a podcast that he did.
Okay.
Like a couple days ago.
You and Christian sent me that.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the same one?
I listened to it.
Did you hear? Correct me. I wasn't sure if I misheard this or if I'm misremembering it, but did he say that Flexport has $1 billion of cash
on their balance sheet? Yes. That's
what he said, right?
War chest, yes, of money.
Yeah.
That's the only other company that I've heard has at least startup news, like kind of startup wise, was Nikola. Nikola also has like, I think something close to $1 billion. I think it was Nikola that was $1 billion in cash on the balance sheet, which is like a great position to be in, I think. But anyway.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, that definitely nice to have $1 billion in the bank.
Well, I just think that's a lot different. Like, I don't think people like knew that because everyone was like, "Oh, is Flexport?"
I'm wondering what their burn is right now. Like, did he talk about like how much like they're burning per month?
Not really. Not that I heard. Or
remember. I mean, I'm guessing it must be like also a substantial number.
I mean, they've cut costs. I think he said, I don't remember the metric, but he said they've cut costs like substantially.
Okay. Yeah.
They
laid off a lot of engineers.
What did he say? They laid off like half their engineering team or something like that.
I think he said like 650.
It was like a lot of people. It was like a lot.
Dude, it was a lot. It was a lot.
So the guy I met in the lounge in Copenhagen, who I gotta give a shout out to because this guy's an OG. I met this guy wearing the Freight Caviar hoodie. His name is Gene Ochi. I'm gonna pull it up.
Wait, you met him and he was wearing the Freight Caviar hoodie?
No, I met him because I was wearing the Freight Caviar hoodie. He asked me, like he was looking at, like I walk into this conference room at the Copenhagen Business Lounge on Tuesday, and he's just eating, chilling, and like he looks at me. It was just us two in a room, and he looks at me. He's like, Freight Caviar, like he's like, what's that? And I'm like, telling him what it is. I'm like, it's like a niche kind of like media site. And he's like, oh, I used to work like in logistics. I'm like, oh, what'd you do? And he was like, yeah, I was one of like the like founding members of UTI Worldwide, and we got on the story, and he was just trashing Flexport, which is kind of interesting. But this guy, he said that if he were in his position, he'd be shorting Flexport stock if he could. But because one of the reasons what he was saying was like, well, he's really bullish on Tesla. He loves Tesla. Like his whole family has Tesla. Everyone in his family has a Tesla. And he was explaining how like, Tesla's a tech company. They essentially, if you have a breakdown, if anything happens, there's like malfunction in the technology, like Tesla just sends an update like as if it was an iPhone. Whereas like a Volkswagen, you have to like actually go physically into like the Volkswagen dealership and they have to plug in a laptop and get it updated. Whereas like for Flexport, he's like, well, Flexport is just a freight forwarder. And this guy was a freight forwarder, gigantic conglomerate of companies. But so here, this guy, we talked for like 30 minutes and we connected on LinkedIn. We need to get him on the podcast. I think his story is really cool. But he was one of the original investors in UTI Worldwide, which got acquired by DSV for $1.35 billion in 2015. And he was actually very upset about the acquisition because they were actually a publicly traded company. And the only reason why they had to sell was because they almost went bankrupt due to like them building their own accounting software, which costs way too much money and malfunctioned. It cost way too much chaos. And literally their customers were getting upset with them. They were losing customers because like of all the accounting problems in the background. So like they actually ended up like, they were like kind of forced to sell to DSV for $1.35 billion. And he was really upset with the CEO that was put in by the board because he's the one that like made the decision to like build their own accounting software. But yeah, that was a random meet just because of the fact I was wearing the Freight Caviar hoodie. I thought it was pretty cool.
So so Gene, technically UTI would be considered a competitor of Flexport, right?
Yes, for sure. Like I mean, they were a freight forwarder.
Got it.
Built his own software, forced the company to sell for nothing, and he's shitting on Flexport.
Well, the reason why he was shitting on Flexport is because he says like they're not a tech company, but like their multiple or valuation is as if they were a tech company. Sure, they have technology, but like he's saying that they're just a freight forwarder, and like their valuation doesn't make sense. That's where like his point was coming from. Like comparing it to Tesla, like where Tesla's actually a tech company, Flexport isn't. That's what he was saying.
Tesla's valuation also, like just arguably, like their valuation also didn't make sense to a bunch of people. Actually, it didn't even make sense to Elon himself. He's like, our valuation is way too high, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like going other spectrum. But like overall,
how do we get tech company valuations?
$800 billion. Yeah, I'd get that.
Does the Freight Gong get a tech valuation?
Is it Freight Gong? Should we go check out the Freight Gong real quick?
Dude, so I was thinking this morning, you know how, that game Wordle everyone plays?
Yeah.
4 million times?
We brought it back down to like under 1 million because we like changed the rules. So the spammers were like going backwards. But they've adapted and now we have
Swarks looking for A minus level talent. I don't want A minus level talent. I want A plus level talent.
You're telling Mia, did Mia make a bot?
Maybe.
Maybe.
By the way, guys, we're going to have a special guest, Eric Johnson, joining us in 17 minutes, kind of to talk about, I guess, the beef with FreightWaves. So that should be interesting. But what were you saying, Reed? Did Mia make a freight bot? I don't think so.
I mean, she hit it 16,000 times. Hell yeah.
That's a lot of clicks. It's like
so I did 3,333, and that's where I left it off at. But I did that in like 15 or 20 minutes on a rooftop in Chattanooga last week, and that was just one time. So I guess like if she were to like dedicate, like 15 minutes a day, like that's for like five days, she'll get there. So yeah. Gong or bong? Is that Jacob?
That was Brad Jacobs.
That was Brad Jacobs. Nice. Good stuff.
No, but what I want to do, I want to figure out how to like make this more of a game, and like more of a game than just like a bunch of like devs like competing over who can build the best like spammer, like
because basically now that's a competition of who builds the most clever bots.
I mean, that's what it is right now. There were people I don't know if you saw that dude in the Discord who was like critiquing
John?
like the API.
His name John, I think, or something. Yeah, that was good.
Gosh. That's funny.
By the way, Carrie's watching. Just shout out Carrie. Good morning. Which she asked me what airline do I prefer. I typically fly through Copenhagen with Scandinavian SAS Airlines, but just because they're part of Star Alliance. But they just actually, real quick, I know this is off topic, but Carrie's asking me. So I always fly Star Alliance because I'm a frequent traveler, and unfortunately, SAS went bankrupt, and they had 26% of their stake get acquired by KLM Air France a month ago, and they're now transitioning out of Star Alliance. So I'll probably stop flying with SAS and go with some different airline. But,
I don't know if you're going to be flying anywhere when this volcano goes up, dude.
I'm okay with that, to be honest. That's fine. I need to work, and I'm in my work zone right now. Let's see here. Michael's looking forward to EJ. Good stuff. Awesome. All right. I interrupted you guys. You wanted to create a game, Reed.
Yeah. We don't even have to talk about it. I'm gonna come up with we're gonna figure it out, and we'll release it.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to the game. The game's definitely going to be exciting. I think you're always doing good stuff. And it's always, let's see here. Oh wow. Okay, so it's a long leaderboard. Wait, did you guys just delete Freight Caviar? We had 3,333. You guys just deleted us?
Actually have no idea. Keep going down.
Well, like, why would, like, it's not here, dude.
Great, deleted it.
I have no idea. I didn't delete it. Maybe,
dude, you got to figure this out, man. I like, what the hell? Like, Freight Caviar should be here.
You guys? Oh, you left it at. I have no idea. I have no clue. Jake has done everything with the database.
All right, well, you got to tell Jake. He's gotta put us back in.
Do we need to artificially boost your score again?
Well, I literally you saw me click at 300.
I know. I have a picture. Times. That was the night the leaderboard came out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Cool. All right, let's see here.
This is fun. Just all of us sitting on the roof, pulling out our phones, going to freightgong.com, and just like spamming the hell out of the thing for like a solid 15 minutes. Nobody else is doing anything else other than just spamming the gong.
Dude, yeah, no, the gong's good.
All right,
anyway,
yeah, I'm gonna. Dude, Mother Trucker has 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. How crazy is that? That's wild.
That's crazy.
So he released this video yesterday, 2 days ago. It says 1 day ago. About the FMC new rule, which I actually I've read a little bit about.
The overtime rule?
This is different. This is like a new rule to suspend freight brokers for not paying truck drivers in claims.
Oh, okay.
It went into effect like yesterday. So
no, it didn't go into effect yet, but it's going to go into effect on January 24th of this upcoming year.
Truck drivers and mother truckers, I'm telling you right now, you guys been waiting for some decent news. The FMCSA possibly got something right for once. You know, they had a proposed rule that they want to really crack down on freight brokers. And now they're actually making a final rule that starts tomorrow, November 16th, and it's going to actually go into effect January 16th of 2024. So the FMCSA issues major new rule to crack down on unscrupulous freight brokers. Now, what does that actually mean? We know that as truck drivers and carriers, we're going to have to carry hundreds of thousands of dollars of cargo insurance for anyone to even want to work with us. But the brokers, they have the surety bond of only $75,000. I think that's wrong right there. It should be like $500,000. It shouldn't be that low, right? And so here's the thing. In the past, if a freight broker knows that they can't pay all these claims that are happening to the carrier or truck driver, they would just keep on putting loads on the load board and just working these drivers knowing that they're not going to pay them, because 30, 40, 50 days might go by. And before that, the FMCSA would even see this, and then months go by before they get suspended. Now the rule has changed, and basically the FMCSA is like, look, if it goes down from the $75,000, you got 7 days to pay this. If you don't pay the claims, then the FMCSA will suspend you right away. So this should help with the brokers that are going to commit fraud. There's so many companies that I've done stories about where they made their drivers drive for, months, so long that they owe all these drivers so much money knowing that they're not going to pay them. Right. So let's break this down if you have time to.
Yeah. So if you want to check that whole video out on the trucker on YouTube. But yeah, any thoughts on that, guys?
I think it's the right thing to do. It's for sure. But it's just like weird that this wasn't, I don't know, in place already up until this point, because there's a $75,000 surety bond. I guess there's just no enforcement.
Well, there's no enforcement of basically anything by the FMCSA.
So BH commented, wasn't that basically what it was before they published this final ruling?
We need Xi Jinping to run the FMCSA. That's what I'm saying.
Got it. I think the FMCSA is just bringing the hammer down faster on suspensions. Very interesting. But yeah, what I thought was pretty interesting besides that, moving on, in TJ Maxx's earnings report, TJ Maxx specifically mentioned how lower freight costs is benefiting them, but they don't expect to fully recapture all freight costs lost during the pandemic.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That just shows how much they spent and the volume. The volume is probably what does it say
how important it is. How important it is to their overall margins. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. What else is going on?
There was this driver overtime thing we were talking about in the spaces last night.
How'd that go?
It was a lot of people were talking. I took my microphone off for a second and was not listening. I was all on the phone, and it quickly devolved into a bunch of people bickering about the same stuff everyone always bickers about, W-2 versus 1099, because it doesn't apply to non-employee drivers. Mm-hmm. And all these companies are essentially trying to figure out how to make people not actually employees, like businesses tend to do. They try to make them all contractors. And so I don't think it applies to them. And
what was the general consensus? Not even if there's a consensus.
Well, TJ was in there, and he kind of was talking about Santa Barbara Freight. He's got 100 trucks or something like that. He's basically businesses are just going to adapt and keep things the same. I think Craig put out a bunch of tweets last night about.
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Craig put a bunch of tweets up. I think he was saying it's going to benefit big fleets more.
Okay, so here,
it seemed like the other way around.
If you're looking for catalysts that will wipe out a large number of fleets, Congress could deliver. Single truck owner-operators should benefit greatly, as well as large enterprise mega fleets. Small and mid-sized fleets, unfortunately, often lack the leverage to collect attention and wouldn't be able to afford to pass these costs onto shippers. This could cause a lot of marginal fleets to file bankruptcy.
Yeah. So TJ was saying stuff basically fleets are going to have to be much more scrutinizing of driver, like if a driver's actually on duty, whether they're loading or not. Like and act because like whether they're actually like deserving of pay and they're actually technically working. He thinks like fleets are going to have to do a lot more like in cab cameras and stuff like that, and basically like it's just not. He doesn't think it's going to end up being actually good for drivers. I don't have a formal opinion on this. I don't know, but I guess we'll see. I mean, there were a bunch of drivers who came into the space who were saying it was like a good thing, and I think who knows? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah. Time will tell.
I have a feeling that the average rate per mile for the owner operators, even though it's not directly impacted by this bill, I feel like the relative compensation will just get adjusted to whatever like the average hourly or average daily amount made by a truck driver might be. I feel like that those two things will kind of somehow find a similar ground.
I was trying to think about this last night, and you guys asked me, tell me what you think about this. Like, so if you could like magically capture magically bill, magically invoice for detention for like every hour of detention that happens, like in the supply chain, like or just in truckload shipping in the US, like what percentage of total detention do you think is actually paid? I think it's like a very small amount. I couldn't even guess, but it's like nothing. It's like
I think like 50% probably. I don't know,
bro. It has to be less than that. Like,
well, I think a lot of the problem is like, well, from brokerages, I think following up with shippers, and shippers are kind of slow to like actually like approve it. They need all this proof and all that stuff. But I also think a lot of it is just like, well, the shippers make it difficult because obviously they don't want to pay it.
Yeah.
Brokers don't want to do all the following up because it's work.
And it might piss their shippers off. Like, and it's like, it's this screwed up system because like warehouses, I feel like have gotten way worse. Like warehouses take forever and have no respect for the time of a driver and screw everything up. They have no incentive to change. They have none.
And I think the large enterprise shippers are like the worst at it. Like small shippers are pretty good at paying attention and getting approved, like because they know, like, you know, you email like, you know, I don't know, Linda, who like is on a dock and she knows the driver is there for 3 hours. You email her and she just approves it right away. Whereas like, you know, you're dealing with Anheuser-Busch, an enterprise shipper who needs like GPS location like inputs and
they need a smoke signal sent up like 15 minutes before detention starts. Like it's absurd. Like the hoops you have to jump through, and the hoops like frankly when I was so broken, it's like the hoops that like companies impose themselves. Like it's just like, how is this not like, I feel like there's an opportunity here to like actually do something with this.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that the tension, there's actually definitely like some kind of tech solution to detention, but
we need to like figure out a way to like collect detention via like via an app, like a fintech. We can make like a fintech company and probably raise like $1 billion to build this. Like,
I thought this was kind of interesting. I don't know how valid this is, but it seems pretty accurate. I know Dooner was saying I like to see the data behind this. Definitely didn't see a preference to tractor trailer over semi in New England. But what do you guys call like a truck? I usually call it I usually call it a semi. I think
I just call it a semi.
I call it a semi too.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw someone or someone commented on Instagram saying like, I don't get why people call it semi. Or like, I guess semi truck. That's what she wrote. But yeah,
Big Rig. Dude, how is Big Rig not on this list?
Huh?
Big Rig.
I like Big Rig.
I saw someone comment on Instagram as well saying Big Rig. So there's definitely a few I guess missing here. But
hey guys, there's a question from Satvik. He's asking what type of incentives might encourage these warehouses to actually be more responsive. I don't know if you guys have any takes.
I'm gonna add Eric to the stage. I see Eric's there. Hey Eric.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Eric, what's up, dude?
Good. Where are you, Eric, right now?
I'm home. I'm in DC.
DC?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good
Sorry,
stuff.
you gotta suffer through my like 2 packs a day voice right now because I've had this like gnarly cough the last week.
You big SIG guy, Eric?
I've never had a cigarette in my life, so that's what makes it hilarious. Is everyone is like, "Oh, are you back on the wagon?" Like,
you gotta transition to Zen. Zen, Eric.
yeah, just go from no cigarettes just to Zen.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Here we got a good question from Satvik. Eric, maybe you could help us answer this.
Yep.
For in terms of detention, what type of incentives would encourage warehouses to be more responsive?
I mean, I don't know if it's at a warehouse level, it's about incentivizing them, right? It's like at the company level. The warehouses are just they're all like, independent. They all have their own way of doing things. It's really got to be like a company dictating, okay, this is how we do things across the entire, network. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much power like an operations manager at a warehouse has to like take on some sort of tool
Well,
to calculate detention properly.
Sure.
I mean, those food warehouses that are like notorious, like they have like, it's not necessarily the warehouse's fault per se, to your point, Eric, because they have to like count and they have these like very like stringent like inventory rules and stuff like that are probably handed down from on high. And probably just takes forever. Like it probably just is actually a long process.
It's all spreadsheet, right? Like, I mean, most people are using a spreadsheet on top of whatever, like if it's a WMS or no WMS at all, right? So it's, I mean, the idea of like having like this clean system that like turns detention into payment, that's pie in the sky unless you have it at the like at a much higher level.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like for large enterprise shippers who are a lot of times publicly traded companies, and they have like their quarterly reports. Like it seems like there's always a problem getting paid out from these companies, even though obviously they have like a ton of money and they typically generate lots of profit. But for me, it's like, would it like, besides the fact that it's difficult for them to pay it out, like, do you think like for some reason like they're not incentivized to pay it, like, or to prolong the process because like it hurts their bottom line, like, or they don't want to have like their quarterly report show that like their warehouse operations are slow and they're losing money because of this? Like, I don't know, like if there's like, because like it should be the easiest shippers to pay out detention should be those large enterprise shippers that have a lot of money making lots of profit, but it seems like those are the ones that are usually the most difficult.
Smarter about finding ways not to pay it, essentially.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
to me, it comes down to a leverage situation on almost everything, right? Like, is the market such that a shipper can be like, well, yeah, made you wait a couple extra hours, but like, do you want our next load? Do you want to keep doing business with us right now? And then a year and a half ago, well, I guess we'll pay a little extra since we kept him for an extra hour. So, I mean, I see that across the board. It's not just like detention, it's decarbonization stuff. It's anything that you want to tack on to whatever like the agreed upon rate is across modes is like completely dependent on who has the power at any given moment.
For sure. Very interesting. Eric, I do want to get into the topic that you wanted to come up here because I know last week we had Craig on and he kind of talked about the beef between FreightWaves and Journal of Commerce. So we're here trying to just get, I guess, 2 point of views, and I know you wanted to come on to kind of talk about that.
Sure.
You want to dive into that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. I totally appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get to like my tweets and where it was aimed at.
Sure. Should we pull this tweet up?
Let me get. I have some notes here, so just bear with me. I want to go into like what some of the stuff that Craig said first because I think that's important for me to like clear up, right? So, let me start off with Craig had a tweet about sort of the origination of the beef between us, right? Which was, I think it was 2018, if memory serves me right. They wanted to link to a story that we did in one of their stories. And we have a policy that's listed on the website, still there, nothing's changed in 5 years, that says you can't backlink to a story that uses more than a certain amount of copy from our story. And the reason for that, I know a lot of people have been like going on like, what, who in 2023 or even in 2018 is like refusing backlinks to their website, right? That sounds absurd, right? And I agree with no context, it sounds absurd, but we have a subscription product, right? Like we ask people to pay for our product. We use that money to pay me, my colleagues, everybody else, right? Like it's a different model. We understand that. But part of that is if we do a story, we're paying for that reporter essentially to report out that story. And we hope it's unique enough that people think it's valuable. If someone else takes like a key paragraph from that story and includes a small backlink in like 2 words, out of 100 people that read that story where it's pulled from, how many people are actually going to click the backlink and give us traffic? How many of those people are going to click on our original story and then become a subscriber, right? So there is a bit of a method to what may seem like madness in a world of like where you want huge distribution, you want everybody to see it. The aggregators, it wasn't Freightwaves like was relatively new at that point. Like we weren't even, it was nothing personal with Freightwaves. It was like there was a lot of companies that were like doing listicles and aggregation, and they were just pulling work that everybody else had done into like this compendium kind of thing. And we just weren't seeing traffic when those things happened, right? So there was a reason for it. We didn't just do it just because we were scared or paranoid or anything like that, right? Like we had a method to the madness. So I wanted to clear up that part first, and then another, and stop me if I'm just like going on too long a rant here, but the other thing is that was strange for me, and I'll get into the tweet itself, but that tweet was from my account. It was Eric Johnson, LogTech Eric. It wasn't a JOC account. It wasn't even like I'm not the CEO of the JOC.
Eric, are your opinions your own?
Totally.
If it's not in your bio though, dude, I don't know about that.
Wait, I forget, is that in my bio?
I have no idea.
No.
Opinions expressed are mine. It has it. It's there.
You know, if people put that in their Twitter bio, they're like, opinions are my own.
Yeah,
right? or like does not equal endorsement or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
well, and honestly, I have to put that in because my paycheck is from S&P Global, right? Like I can't, if I say something that's a little like off the, off the deep end, right? Yeah. I can't be like, well, this is, it's S&P's. This is S&P's opinion. So like, this was me. I was saying this, and there's a reason why I said it, right? I think you all kind of like, I backed into it through a follow-up. And honestly, the biggest thing I regret, Reed and Paul, is like that. And it was so stupid. It's like, so when I think about it, it's like so stupid. Like, obviously you guys would think I was throwing shade at you guys. Obviously, like you guys are the most prominent memers out there, right? So I was not thinking of you. I was thinking I've been traveling like crazy for the last 2 months. Conferences all over the place, all over the world. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying like I'm getting a taste of like lots of different people in our industry, ports, freight forwarders, carriers, brokers, shippers, domestic shippers, international shippers, like the whole gamut. And like it's not that they are like they tie up their tie in the morning and they have their pencil protector in their pocket and they have no sense of humor, but it's like they have been under the gun for 3 straight years. And when I go to these conferences, I just see like people needing to like really focus on things. And I felt like a couple of the things that the Truck Stop account did were not conducive. They were conducive to like getting a ton of attention and like kudos on Twitter, but I was feeling like they were not maybe hitting the mark in terms of like luring shippers or, other entities that they needed. Now, the interesting thing is immediately after they totally clapped back at me, right? Immediately, which was awesome. I mean, like I have total respect for that account. The account is great. Like they're amazing, but we had a cool DM chat And we were cool within 5 minutes. Like, I was like, here's my thought. I was like, I don't think you guys need to like go to that extent to a direct competitor. I think you guys are probably you have a more valuable brand name than you think you do. And I felt like, and they said, look, totally understand what you're saying. The data supports that we're like actually doing this and this and this. It's accomplishing things for us. And I was like, look, data doesn't lie. I admit if I'm wrong. And over the past week, I totally did not mean to like wade into this, obviously, right? Like, obviously, I've laid low. I've not said anything about it. I didn't want to like fan the flames anymore, but I've come around. Like, the memification of the industry is cool. I have nothing against it. Like, everything that anyone said about me being like shaking their fists at the sky guy, yeah, I can totally be like that. But I'm open-minded. Like, and I meant what I said about you guys. Like, you two you were like, I don't mean this derogatorily, like you were nowhere on the map, right? And you used cool things to put yourselves on the map, and now you're like completely on the map, right? In the middle of the map in some cases. And so to me, that's a different story than a company with like that's publicly traded, has a huge corporate profile, a lot of exposure. Like, that's a different thing, but there's obviously place for that. So I've totally come around.
It's funny. I was I like had just gotten off the plane, and a bunch of people were texting me a link to your tweet, and I read it, and I was like, shh. And they're like, oh, dude, is Eric talking about you? I'm like, fuck, there's no way he's talking about me. There's no way. Like, this is like, that would be crazy. Like,
I just invited you on my show.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
I was like, why would I say
I was like, there's no fucking way
he's be on my show in 2 weeks. Like, that's insane.
Like, I actually didn't think you were talking about me either at that point. And honestly, at the same time, like, even if you were, like, I don't take anything personally, and because I know, like, at the end of the day, like, some of the stuff that we put out there, like, people may not like enjoy, or they might not like at the end of the day. So like, it's not like, we're not doing this for everyone. So like, but at the same time, I didn't think it was like, I didn't take anything.
I mean, I do. There have been plenty of people. Like, yesterday, there was a dude who's bought a hat from me who tweeted. I don't know his name, but he tweeted something along the lines like, oh man, like, I come here for serious news, but I have to like block all this because I'm not, like, I'm losing the seriousness. And I'm like, look, dude, the benefit of these sites is that you can literally curate your feed however the hell you want. Yeah, and if you don't like seeing things, you can filter them. Like, that's up to you, bro. Like,
you're not gonna bat 1,000. Like, I'm not batting 1,000 on my tweets, right? Like, obviously, right? So, I mean, I stand by it. I think I could have made it clearer. I think I probably should have not gone the subtweet route, and I should have gone I should have made it clearer in this case, because I didn't mean to. I don't. Like, okay, let me address a couple other things. I am not a zero-sum game guy. Like, that has been put on me. Like, I have been doing the show that you're going to be on, Reed, in 2 weeks. I have been doing this show for 2.5 years. I guarantee you most people don't know 95% of the guests before they're on my show, right? Like, I am all about putting people on, right? Like, let's have a cool exchange of ideas with people who are under the radar, right? So I write about companies that are sometimes 5-people companies, right? The same as I write about, Maersk and 70,000 people companies, right? So I don't gatekeep. I don't think it's a zero-sum game. Yes, I might have some problems with certain things that I see, and I'm at liberty to tweet about them, and everybody's at liberty to clap back. I will say this. And I have not. This will be the first time I've ever talked about Craig publicly. Honestly, go back to any podcast, any show I've done. I've never said anything about him publicly, and I'm not going to say anything about him personally. What I am going to say is, it's not his story to tell. The JOC story is not his to tell. Just like it's not mine to say, oh, FreightWaves is this and that, and their business is worse than it was a year ago, or it's better than it. Like, I don't know. I don't. He's not including me in his financial meetings. He has absolutely no idea how we're doing. He has absolutely no idea what our audience thinks of us. He has no idea about how our model actually works. He doesn't. I promise you, he does not. So if he's going to go on and talk crap about us repeatedly, right? Like I felt like, okay, I needed to come and say, like, we at least need to be in the conversation and be like, this is not true. We are not a failing business. We are not losing relevance. It's just not true. So I wanted.
I mean, you guys are playing different games. I mean, you're playing
totally.
You're playing different games
Yeah.
because if you're not concerned about like the SEO, like backlinks and SEO and all that stuff, like maybe that's your guys' game, and it'd be interesting for us to get an understanding of like how you guys view content, how you view this sort of stuff, how you view like engaging in these sorts of you know, spats, because clearly for a company that's like you know, as stationed as like S&P, your owner, like, you know, their audience and their content strategy is not going to be the same as somebody who's optimizing for SEO, as somebody who's optimizing for max traffic, right? Like it's just it's a different game. And I like, can you talk about that? Like, how do you guys view like just content in general?
So I can talk a little bit. I can't go into too many details for two reasons. A, I don't know how much at liberty I am, and B, like, honestly, I'm not dealing with the SEO, like, audience growth management side. Like I join a meeting every once in a while just to like understand what they're doing, but I'm not like pulling the levers and using the different tools, right? So it's not that we don't care about SEO. We obviously care about SEO. We care about audience growth. We care about reaching the right audience. We care about, you're right, like S&P is a very serious business that is like touching a huge number of the world's biggest companies, right? As clients, not just the S&P index and all that stuff. So it's a different level of, like, for instance, I have every 6 months, I have to like upload all of my investments every 6 months because we're part of S&P. I'm not allowed to like influence the market if I own like even shares in a mutual fund. We have to download that or upload that into a system, right? So there's a huge compliance kind of component. And
I wish that applied to Congress.
Yeah, for real.
Very interesting. So the S&P, like, I'm just trying to understand this a little bit more. So the S&P 500 is a list of 500 companies that are on the stock market. How is S&P Global, that owns your Nova Commerce, related with like the S&P 500? Like, how does that?
That's totally separate divisions. So like there's 4 divisions within S&P, and the ratings and like financial market stuff is completely independent. Like I don't even think I've had a single conversation with that group. I mean, there's like 30 some odd thousand employees. So we are in a group called Market Intelligence. Okay. Of which a part of it is covers supply chain. So we sit in kind of the supply chain niche within Market Intelligence, which is a great home for us. Like, it's a perfect fit for our business. So yeah, we don't get involved in the index or the ratings business, like the debt ratings business and all that. Like, that is totally separate from us.
I am curious, Eric, before we continue talking. I know that you used to work at American Shipper, which was acquired by FreightWaves, I believe, in 2019.
Yeah.
And American, so like, can you talk a little bit about that and like, I don't know, like what the views are, I don't know, like in terms of that acquisition, and like, because you almost, I guess, were at FreightWaves in a way.
Yeah. So I left American Shipper on really good terms. I'd worked there for like 12 and a half years. It was just time for me to like kind of spread my wings a bit. I left, I want to say, in like early 2018, because I joined JOC in April of 2018.
Okay.
And then I believe the acquisition of American Shipper was middle of 2019, if memory serves me. So yeah, I mean, I think Craig has said that like he was a little bit spurred by us, kind of rubbing him the wrong way on that backlink thing, and he decided to go try to build something in the container shipping, ocean space, international space. So American Shipper was like this really cool, like, under the radar, punched above our weight kind of publication. We had a small staff, but we had like really devoted shippers as readers, and about half of it was logistics, half was trade compliance, like customs broker type stuff.
Okay.
So it was quite niche, right? Like really niche, but it was like, I would say most people in the industry considered it on par with JOC, Lloyd's List, people who move freight predominantly internationally. It was like one of the things they wrote. Now, in terms of it getting acquired, like, you have to understand, first and foremost, I'm a journalist. I'm happy when there are jobs for journalists. There's still a lot of people. There's a couple of my long-term colleagues at American Shipper are FreightWaves reporters now. They're awesome reporters. They do a great job. I'm happy when there are more jobs, especially in this industry, for people to write about it, especially people who know it and really like love the industry. I think that may be a misunderstood thing, especially for people who are kind of new to the like reading industry journals and kind of the what is legacy media, right? Even though we're not legacy media, we're still here, but like is most of the people who've been in this industry and reporting on it for 5 or more years, there's a reason why they stay with it. They love it. Like, we love it just as much as someone like you guys do, as much as someone who deeply cares about the industry, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's not that many opportunities out there, but there are other opportunities. So
what are your opinions on freight beef in general? Because I'm a beef guy. I love beef, even though I don't beef that much myself personally, at least yet. But like, I don't know, it's like kind of fun sometimes, right? I mean, you need enemies. Like, if you don't have enemies, you're not doing things properly.
I agree, and I will say, like, the idea that this is a one-sided thing where like they're only benefiting from us being involved is like, you think we're not also like thinking every single minute of every single day how to like be better than them? Obviously we are.
For sure. It's competition.
It's competition.
Even if you're playing different games,
totally.
Like from a business standpoint,
yeah, we are.
You're still competing for the hearts and minds of the general public in a sense. You're a media company. Like,
so the irony, and I got to jump in like 2 minutes because I got to do my show, the one you're going to be on, Reed. I got to do my show at the top of the hour. But the irony is, like, my wife thinks I'm like the least confrontational person in the world. So I guess I'm like a good keyboard warrior and not a good in-person warrior, because I'm just like, everybody should get along in real life.
Wait, so you're not... my follow-up question to this was, are you like down for like a cage match?
Absolutely not. I would get my ass kicked in a cage match.
That actually would be like the most entertaining, I think, freight event ever put on, would be a cage match. We have to have like 8 fights,
God.
Like how the UFC does.
No. I'm more than happy to debate in the octagon of ideas, but there's no way I'm going hand to hand. I would get my ass kicked.
Okay, so we could have like a UFC match over like a StreamYard where it's like just words.
Well, look, just get Dooner on it. Just get Dooner to like make some memes of me, at wrestling. Just pop my face on someone.
I mean, dude, like, Eric, sooner rather than later, you're gonna have to get into you're gonna have to clap back in the meme arena, man. Like, you can't just.
I wanted to explain things in my words before it became distilled down to like memes. So maybe now this is the thing.
I mean, if you're not, I think it's an opportunity for you.
Listen, before I go, I just got to say, you guys are absolute animals. I do not know how you do so many shows every damn week. I do one every other week, and it almost kills me. So, like, I don't know how you...
We don't really prepare. We just send it, I guess it makes life easier, because if I were to prepare for every show, it would be definitely way too time-consuming.
Crazy. Hats off. I'm crazy. I mean, you guys all have hats on, but like, I'm not even wearing a hat. But like, seriously, it's awesome.
I was gonna say, Eric, it could be like the Zuckerberg versus Musk kind of like beef, where like it never actually the cage fight never happens, but you could get us like kind of like anticipating it.
Yeah, get it hyped up.
Everyone talking about it.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, anytime you guys are bored and need a guest, I'm happy to join. This was super fun.
Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
See you, dude.
Bye.
Yep. Take care. So we're
cage match.
back. That would have been an amazing cage fight.
We gotta try to set that up.
I mean, we could just meme it. I mean,
we could meme it into existence. I think that's what we're gonna say.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, any thoughts on that? On this? What just happened?
I mean, it's always good to get two perspectives. I think I thought that was interesting and definitely yeah.
I mean, there is something to be said about it's business. It comes down to business, and their business, like, even if Eric wanted to meme as hard, like, even if he were like us, right? He just is not. That's just not their audience. That's not the business. That's not. And frankly, engaging in this arena is like kind of a losing battle because his hands are tied to a degree, you know. So that's why when the tweet came out, I was like, well, like, I mean, it's kind of a savage subtweet, because nobody knows who it's talking about, and it set off this whole meme thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
The only thing that I would love to know is that when Freightwaves came into the picture, were there, and then between 2018 and now, were there more people than there were in 2018 reading freight news? Because if there was, then essentially Freightwaves, would have came in and
say that again. Yeah.
So is there more people reading freight news in general now?
Yes, for sure, 100%,
a million percent, a million, dude. Yeah, when I started at my brokerage shop at Echo in 2016, the first thing I did was like, okay, what can I like go read about this? And I subscribed to the Wall Street Journal logistics report. They have like a daily thing. I'm sure I signed up and hit a paywall on the JOC and was like, well, fuck, like, I'm not gonna.
I remember when like I used to get like a freight market update from like the manager at the first brokerage I worked for. Like it was just like kind of like a DAT update every like week. He would send it to everyone. And like, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're anticipating. And that's like the only like freight news I had was like,
and it was all like it's like business news. They treated it like business news. And what we've done, what we do, and what you guys do, and what Freightwaves like follows kind of from this like more kind of like higher energy, mainstream, like more entertaining, like more. Just like more, just like volume of content that Freightwaves really kind of kicked off. And you heard Craig the other day, like Freightwaves didn't even start as like, they started as like a futures thing, right? And then they kind of just like discovered this media deal. And so it's like we're kind of following in that footsteps, and it's just different. Frankly, it's just different. Like it is what it is. Like I prefer this mode of operating. And I'm sure you guys do too, but like, it's just different. It ain't for everybody, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, even from what I remember, Craig said that like even the meme format or the kind of the comedy format is Freightwaves' style, which it isn't.
100%.
Like supporting us. I couldn't imagine JOC taking that that route to begin with. But I guess my comment was more so about like the amount of people that are reading freight news now. Like that difference is there's a new audience that can be captured.
Bro, right? Memes grow. Memes are top of funnel for like freight media. You know what I mean? Like think of the people
I think they were. I think they're kind of getting overdone right now. I think it's in a way like I think there is something new coming on. Well, we're about to see something new take over, because I think what we've seen with memes is that like I agree, like they were top of funnel, but I don't think they're top of funnel anymore.
Dude, they totally are.
Hold on. They are only.
Let me say this. They're certainly. Are there a ton of them now? Are most of them bad? 100%. Most memes are always bad. That's just the bell curve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but the point is that people are participating in conversations. They're posting. Like, you have people joining that never joining and posting that would have never a month ago even said anything, right? So the point is that the point isn't that every meme is going to be hysterical and that there's not going to be this like influx of a bunch of crap content. Of course, that's the point. But the point is that people are starting to participate and they're engaging with each other. And long term, like that's going to be really good. Because then people are going to be like, oh wait, like I'm here, like I'm meeting all these people. They're liking, I'm getting the dopamine rush of people like engaging with my stuff. Maybe I'm going to actually now start writing like serious things. So, so I don't necessarily mean that it's just like top of funnel for more of an audience. Although I do think that that's part of it. I think it's more, we should think about it as more like a tool to recruit people to start contributing in their own way, in a serious way. And so like, anybody who's
I
like,
think getting people to contribute is very important, like 100%. And I think
it's the most important thing. It is literally the most important thing.
And like, it doesn't just have to be memes. Like people understand, like just tweet like what's going on, like what are your thoughts, feelings, like what happened that was kind of crazy, you know, like
everything. And that should be the takeaway. The takeaway from this and like how we need to run with this is like, yeah, meme, great. I love memes. I love making memes, but like do something else too. Because if you don't back that up, then like whatever it is, what it is.
Just be all memes. It can't just be.
It can't just be all memes. Of course, it can't be all memes. Like,
so it was funny because Chris Fields, who I met at F3, he made a Twitter account and he tagged us all in it. It's a movement, F3 memes, and like it's funny because he was a TQL for 15 years, so he uses like the LAE is like logistics account executive at TQL, but like so he made this meme, which I mean I thought like I liked the template for the meme. I thought the template was really good, so I was like, we fixed it up a bit, and I think it also, just like gets like more creativity flowing.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. What do you mean?
And Chris replied so good. So
like this guy would have never done that before.
No,
and now he's here. So this is a win. Even like I'll take 1 million bad memes for a couple people starting to contribute. So that's my position.
Or just even attention being like brought in from outside the freight world for people who are not in freight, but like getting more people into it is, I mean,
dude, this is going, I don't think this is going to be huge. Like,
I do worry that it's gonna like die off, but most likely that's just like simply the case of the phenomenon.
Like there's not going to be 1 million people posting memes every day for a year. Yeah, probably not. Days, no, but the point is that
I'm actually curious. Who you should have like a website that's tracking the people who are still posting memes every day.
Bro, I'm already working on it. Like,
all right. Well, that's it's a wrap, guys. It's 9 a.m. Central Time.
Do you have a hard stop?
I mean, I don't have a hard stop, but I figured it's like I mean I have 30 minutes between now and my
I'm just fucking with you.
But I kind of want to just I want to go and make some food and kind of plan out the rest of my day.
All right, dark. Let's end it. End it with a gong hit.
All right.
All right.
Next week.
See ya.